Philip Barantini, welcome to An Actor Despairs. How are you doing, brother?
I'm great, man. Thanks for having me.
Means so much having you on, man. Your film Boiling Point. I'm an actor, man, and I've worked in a lot of restaurants, man, and
Right.
I'm 5 years sober, and
I'm 7 years.
oh, congratulations,
Yeah, man.
man. That's just
Congratulations to you
beautiful.
too.
And I just hit it December 3rd, so man, when I say your film gave me a panic attack and brought back a lot of crazy memories, I mean it in the best sense of the word.
Yeah.
Because man, it was incredible, and we'll dig in, but I want to say, usually when I hear films are done in one take, I find it, like, if I'm being blunt, like a little masturbatory, because like
Yeah.
that's just what
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
these filmmakers have been doing for the sake of doing it. And
Yeah.
I think, if I'm being 100% honest, and while I've appreciated a lot of the other films, this is the first film I've ever seen that, like, there's no other way you could have done this. And this is why that style exists. So thank you for that.
Oh, man. That means the world. Honestly. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man. But dude, let's learn about you. So where did you grow up?
I grew up in a town in Liverpool in the UK called Huyton. Um, Relatively small town, really. Just everybody that I went to school with and that I grew up with is still there. Um, and I went to school. I left school at 16 because over here you can leave school. Well, you could then. I think you've got to be 18 now, but you could leave school at 16, and then um, I started working in a clothes shop, um, and then I decided at like 15 it was. I think I wanted to, act, because I'd been to there's a soap opera over here called Coronation Street,
Mhm.
which has been going for many, many, many years. And they used to do this thing where you could go to and tour the studios. And my auntie took me once when I was like 15. And I just remember being like, oh my gosh, this is like magic, this, behind the scenes and seeing the cameras and how it all works and stuff like that. And I just thought, wow, this is such a magical world. And
Yeah.
so from then on, I was like, I feel like I want to, enter that world and be an actor, really. And I think when I was in school, the last year in school, they sort of asked you, they always say like, you have a careers day, and they're like, what do you want to do? There's a careers officer comes in and it's like, what do you want to do with your life? And I was like, I want to be an actor. And they're like, right, okay, that's a good hobby, but what do you want to actually do? What do you need? A career. I was like, no, I want to be an actor. And if I'm not going to be an actor, I'll be a failed actor. But I'm not going to give up until I get what I want. You know what I mean? But they just couldn't see. And I understand, they're there to do the job and they want you to go and have a trade or work in an office or whatever. I don't know, but and then I got an agent, a local agent in Liverpool, and she got me an audition for like a film that was on BBC
Yeah.
over here. And I ended up doing that and got the part. And it's like a small role, it's like a part of a flashback, a couple of flashbacks in this thing. And then I off the back of that, I got another thing which was called Dream Team, which is a football soccer drama, and that moved me from Liverpool down to London.
Wow. And when you went to London, did you go with like an awareness of like going for theater and all the other beautiful things that has there? Or for you, was it like a film and TV approach is what you really wanted to do?
Yeah, I think so, because I never trained as an actor, so I was always like, in my head, I'm thinking I can't do theatre because I haven't trained for 4 years in a theatre school. So, film and TV was something I just naturally fell into. But you suddenly then you find out that you don't need to train. I mean, it helps in certain ways, but it's not essential.
Yeah.
Actors that I've worked with now as a director and as an actor in the past as well, it's like you can sort of have that. There's that openness and vulnerability, and sort of yeah, I guess just like a rawness to actors who haven't gone through the conveyor belt of being in theatre school, or so I think there's two ways you can go to film school. I mean, I know a lot of actors who were fantastic actors. Then they decided they wanted to go and train
Yeah.
and home in on a craft and try and figure themselves out.
Which is
You
very,
go to
very
film
part
school.
of the culture in the UK,
It
right?
is, yeah,
Isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And they go to this TV, the theatre school or whatever it may be, acting school for
Bristol,
3 years.
Vic, Rada,
Yes,
Lambda, any one
exactly,
of
the
those. Yeah,
classics.
yeah.
And then they come out of there with no confidence and just like a rabbit in the headlights,
Wow.
and like, I don't know what I'm doing, and just so like, and a lot of them just didn't go into the industry because they were so broken down in this in this world. I mean, I didn't study, but I didn't train, but later on in my acting career, I thought I was, I was just winging it basically, and I'm like, do you know what? Somebody's going to find me out any minute, so maybe I should go and try and home in on a craft, on a technique. So I went and studied the Meisner Technique for a bit, here in the UK in London, and that was probably the best thing I did, because it's not for everybody, that technique, but for me
Yeah.
it was just like, I don't know, it was just like solidified, like what I was doing was kind of right anyway, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I was just doing it, basically the key for me is to actors should be listening to each other, and
Completely. I think
that's what
that's
it
the
is.
most beautiful part about that technique. And I really appreciate you saying that about the schools because, in America, especially as an actor, we always hear about those schools and we hear about the Benedict Cumberbatches and the Riz Ahmeds and all of
Hmm.
that, but you don't hear about the 98% other actors that were, part of one of 16 that
Yeah,
didn't,
yeah,
and so when you started auditioning, I'm curious because I spoke. Do you know Henry Lloyd Hughes?
yeah. I
Yeah,
know Henry well. Yeah,
yeah. Henry School. Yeah, he did the show, and he
yeah.
was he was speaking about how for so long when he was auditioning that
Me and Henry worked in a bar together.
no way.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
man,
yeah, 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 yeah.
that's so funny. Well, he was saying like forever when he was auditioning, right at the end, every casting director would be. You really should go study, you know what I mean? And it
Oh
almost
my
kind of
god.
became a thing for him to be like, fuck
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
Did
yeah, yeah, yeah.
did you encounter something similar?
Yeah, man. Honestly, on the first job I did, that Dream Team job, the second job, it was a fairly big show over here. You know what I mean? It was an established show. They'd already done one season of it, and then I did the second season. And I came in, and I'm 18 years old or something like that, 17, 18, and the directors on the show were like seasoned TV directors. I'm kind of like old school. The industry's changing a lot now. Where the sort of old school mentality is sort of being pushed out a bit. And I worked with a couple of directors. One of them in particular, I won't name his name, but he was really like not a very nice person, really, and especially to me because I was young and he knew that I hadn't trained. So he used to say to me things like, "You're shit, man. Why are you
What?
even in this industry?" Honestly, and I think what he was trying to do is he was trying to get into my psyche and see what kind of person I was, And I would
Yeah.
always give it back to him anyway. I'd give it back because that's the. I think people from Liverpool,
Speaking
they
of
call, they
chefs,
call
that's such a kitchen.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
but Liverpool people are very much like New Yorkers. I've always compared them because we're quite like we speak our minds. You know what I mean? We don't take any shit. So I would always give it back to him. But deep down inside, I'm like, maybe he's right. Maybe I am shit, and I should have trained. I should have trained. I knew I should have trained. But the truth is, I was there. I auditioned for the job. I got the job off my own back.
Yeah.
And so it was like, it's I have witnessed that, and also with other actors, you're on set with other actors who've trained, and it's all very, it's all like, look, at the end of the day, it's imposter syndrome is a real thing, right? And everybody has it, but it's whether you let it sort of dominate
Yeah.
your life and take over, because I suffer with it all the time anyway. Everybody does. People like Brad Pitt, everyone. I'm sure all the top producers and directors, they all suffer with imposter syndrome at times. Someone's going to tap me on the shoulder any minute and say, you're not supposed to be here.
Totally. Yeah, man.
But
I don't even know what
it's,
I'm doing. What's a microphone or hosting?
exactly. But listen,
Yeah.
the truth is every single person is winging it.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
So, no matter how high up the chain you are, whatever, whatever industry, it doesn't matter, but certainly in our industry, everyone's winging it. And there's no rules. There's no rules. You don't have to go, oh, I needed to do this and need to do that. And I'm only learning this now, right? Even as a director, when I first started, I'd wanted to direct for years. But
even as back in these days, that still was something that was in the back of your mind.
Yeah, always in the back of my mind. I used to make little movies at home, like with, I used to make like animations and stuff like that with my cousin, and his dad had a camcorder, and we always used to like take it and just make little movies. Like I'd play the bad guy or whatever, and then but I'd always find myself directing it. You know what I mean? I'd be the one. I'd be like, right, you stand over there, you do this, and then I'll come in and do this. That was at like a young age, like maybe 8, 9, 10 years old or whatever, and then. So I'd always had the interest. And then obviously going to that studio tour that I was telling you about, that was kind of like, wow, this is amazing. I just had this incredible feeling. So then I started acting. But all the time I'm acting, I'm always like, oh, man, I'd love to direct something one day. But I think psychologically, I'd always put directors on this, platform of being like super educated. They've gone to film school and they know everything there is to know about every movie or every TV show, every actor. And they've studied the classics and the arts and, and they know every single camera angle and lens and they know they could take a camera apart and put it back together. That's all bullshit.
Yeah.
It's just not the case. And I think, it took something really, the worst possible thing that has ever happened to me. My mom passed away quite suddenly 5 years ago, and
I'm so sorry for your loss, man. I'm here in Virginia with my mother now, dealing with so I understand.
It's the worst thing that can ever happen, any loss, family member or close friend or whatever, but this in particular was like kind of unexpected and everything. But it was like, that was the one thing, I'd been sober for 1 year at that point, and my mum's passing was, all my mates and all my colleagues, everybody that knew me was like, oh, Phil's going to go off the rails, he's going to go back into the hole. But the absolute opposite happened, and it was like, I don't know, it was like a whole new lease of life for me, and a whole new perspective on life.
I'm kind of trembling right now because I've been dealing with this very concern myself as my parents are getting old, and I got to take my mother to the doctors today. So the fact that you're narrating what's happening in my own life right now is fascinating. So this is something I'm terrified about. So if you don't mind, on my show, we do talk about it. If you're comfortable, how did you not cave to despair? How did you stay on, man? I mean, I'm so fucking proud of you. I don't know you, but dude, that is a fucking revolution, brother.
Thanks, man. Honestly, it wasn't easy. Like, it was probably the hardest thing, the biggest test I've ever come up against in terms of, my addictions and stuff. But the one thing that sort of was at the forefront for me was the fact that, I grew up Catholic. I didn't really go to church much. I was, I'm a believer in energy and all of that kind of stuff. And I just felt I didn't want to let my mum down because now she's there with me all the time. And, I had a lot of regrets because I wasn't, towards the end, I wasn't like coming home and spending enough time with her. Like, I'd come home because I lived in London at the time and she was still in Liverpool. And I would like come home and be just out with my mates, or just not. I'd be like, I'd stay at my mum's place, but I'd be like, man, I'll see you later. I'll catch you later. And then I'd come home for the weekend and I'd maybe spend half an hour with her, and I didn't think anything of it. And then when she passed, it was like all of that just came flooding back. I was like, you know what? Fuck this, man. I'm not going to let her down again.
Yeah.
I'm not letting her down. She's with me. And honestly, I feel her presence every single day. And it's like, and it actually gives me a lot of joy because, you know, I know the successes that I'm going through now, that she's got a hand in that, not only, but she's also driving me forward, you know. It's
Yeah.
so I that's the one thing that's like, you know, you sort of have your higher power, right? She is my higher power, and that's, you know, that's the most powerful thing
Thank
for
you for
me.
sharing that. And I'm
My pleasure,
curious,
man.
you know, to get to Boiling Point, I do want to talk about your acting career because you
Yeah,
were
yeah,
in
yeah.
the best TV show of all time, Band of Brothers miniseries.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, you book this project, and I imagine, you know, as any actor or lucky actor, work begets work, but not always on your own watch. So when you book that job and the BBC thing, did that open some other doors, or was Band of Brothers quite quickly after that?
Yeah, well, to be honest, it all happened very, very quickly for me. And I think I got the part in the BBC thing. That was the first like professional thing I did. And then I went straight on to do Dream Team, which was the soccer drama. And I did 2 years on that show. And then while I was uh, towards the end of that, the second year, I was auditioning for Band of Brothers. And I had, I think, about 5 or 6 auditions for Band of Brothers whilst I was still in this other show. Um, and then I got the part in Band of Brothers, and I had to sort of go, look, they didn't want to let me go from the soccer
Oh,
drama.
wow.
And I was like, guys, you don't realize this is like, I'm
Spielberg,
19
Tom
years old.
Hanks. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 19 years old. This is the dream for me. And I remember actually going into the office of one of the exec producers, and I was banging my head on the desk being like, you have to let me go. This is just the biggest opportunity in my life.
Yeah.
And so they let me go.
That's
And I ended
amazing.
up doing the show, obviously. And it was just the most incredible experience. And yeah, you know, from that, you know, it was for me, I think from Band of Brothers, and then I went on and do another couple of movies. I did a movie with
Ned
Heath Ledger.
Kelly. Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, I started to become, because I'd had such success quite rapidly over a short period of time, and I was young and I guess naive in a way, but I became a bit complacent, and I also started to then, you know, party and go out, and I was celebrating a lot.
Yeah.
And I used to like not turn up for auditions, and I'd be like, yeah, fucking, I'm just going to get this part because I'm going to walk in and you know, and I just became really arrogant and obsessed and self-indulged. And that's where it sort of started to spiral a little bit for me from my acting career, you know, because I wasn't putting all the effort in that I should have been.
Yeah.
I sort of expected it on a plate.
Which is easy to do when you get success. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you just don't know, you know, like as much as I do hate how much I've struggled and haven't gotten to where I want to be, you know, I'm turning 32 in February. I'm grateful so that when, you know, it does happen, I know what it's like to have nothing, and just
Yeah.
that, you know, and I got my drinking and my drugs out of me so I don't fucking
Yeah.
ruin it, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
really easy to happen, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And you don't, it sort of sneaks up on you in a way, because that's exactly what it did with me, you know. And I had to start working in kitchens then, you know, my sort of food and chef. And
Survival came
yeah,
into reality.
I mean, I was earning quite a lot of money for at a young age from, you know, Band of Brothers and stuff, but I was spending it as I was getting it. You know, I was just spending it as a young actor, and I thought, this is never going to end. I'm going to be
Yeah.
earning this kind of money forever. And then suddenly the jobs stopped coming in, and people don't want to bring you in for auditions because the last audition you came in for, you didn't learn the lines properly, and you know, 5 other actors behind you were off book, and you
Yeah.
just come in expecting to get the job. And
Or reeking of vodka in my case.
oh, it's absolutely
Yeah.
100%,
Fucking A.
100%. Like not going to bed the night before and turning up just,
Oh,
you know,
dude.
red eyed.
I did cocaine in a waiting room for an audition, you
Yeah.
know? I mean, the shit
Oh
I did.
man,
Dude. Yeah.
honestly, there's a movie in there somewhere.
Yeah. I'd love to have you direct it. We'll figure it
Yeah.
out. But so then, you know,
Yeah.
obviously as you're struggling with addiction and the reality of, okay, this isn't happening in the way, in the pace and the cycle that I'm used to, I have to get a survival job. Did that humble you, or do you feel like that in some ways increased your addiction because you were mad at the world?
Absolutely, 100%. I was bitter and mad, and why the hell am I not getting these jobs? Why is my mate, who's a shit actor,
Yeah.
going in and getting the job that I should be getting? I'm perfect for that role. Why am I not being seen?
Yeah.
And it was all this negative energy. And yeah, I started using and drinking while I was working in kitchens, and
Which
then
is
that
so
really took off.
rampant. You know, people
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah,
Hollywood's
yeah.
full of, I mean,
Oh no.
hospitality, you find more, and you know, I hate to say this word, but better drugs in the kitchen than you
Yeah.
will at a premiere.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Most people don't
Absolutely.
know that, you know.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
think
No, it's so
Bourdain was
true.
the first to kind of
Yeah.
talk about that, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. But you know, it's yeah, it's rife, and that sort of with my sort of, you know, addictive personality. I went into the chefing starting at the bottom and thought, oh, I like this. This is creative. It's cool. And then, you know, if I can become a sort of head chef, then I can earn quite good money doing this. And thought, so I was still trying to, you know,
Oh, so you
act
did
in auditions.
the prep line and moving up the
Oh,
ladder.
everything. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah. So I did it for about 15 between 12 and 15 years, I think, in total. The last three years were like more, I was working for an agency and they were sending me out to different restaurants to sort of consult and stuff like that. So I worked my way from the bottom to the top. And you know, I thought the whole time I was really sort of, my 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 passion and love was over there, and I wanted to do that, but I needed to earn money, and it was that conflict really. And I just fell into this really dark place, and you know, I was using a lot and drinking, um and I sort of, you know, hated the world, and I was really, it was really unfair on my wife, and you know, I'd just got married, and you know, it was a horrific time. And then, you know, people had said to me for years, you know, oh, you should maybe just take it back a notch, you know, just maybe calm down a bit and maybe stop drinking. I'm like, yeah, no, I will. You know what? You're right. I will do that. You're absolutely right. But deep down inside, I was never going to do that.
yeah.
And then it just all came to a sort of, you know, a blow after my mum passed away. Before my mum passed away, I'd decided to stop for a year because my mum was ill, and it wasn't the reason. The reason was I was tired, and I really didn't want to be doing that anymore.
Yeah.
It was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to stop.
Sick
So
and tired of being sick and tired, you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I went to seek help, and I did it privately because I tried the meetings and stuff like that, and it was fine, but I felt like I needed to talk to someone one-to-one and just to kick it off with. I remember coming out of the first meeting and I felt like I'd been reborn. It was mad. It was like, I get it. I felt like I was, maybe because I'd spoken out and talked to somebody who didn't know me about my problems and issues and things like that. And then it was just it was an amazing feeling, really. And then I sort of didn't look back, and I count myself so lucky because I know there's so many people out there that are in the same situation and they struggle to stop. So yeah, it was. It's not. You look. I'm still an addict.
Yeah.
You're always an
It
addict.
never
So
stops. Yeah.
it never stops. You know. So, but I'm just, today I'm good, and that's all you think about, right?
Yeah. That's so beautiful. And, you know, while you were cooking your way up, you know, at this point, because I know how it is when it's just like survival kicks in and, you know, you got to work a 12-hour shift and then an audition comes in and it's not for a Spielberg project. So you're kind of like, fuck, do I even, you know, were you still pursuing it, or did it kind of,
Yeah.
you were?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
I mean, it got to a point where I was like, you know, because when I became more of a senior role, like a sous chef or a head chef, you're now in control of the kitchen, so you can't really take off that much time. So there'll be times when I burnt a lot of bridges, with casting directors and my agent, and I'd be like, they'd be like, we've got an audition for you tomorrow. Can you make it? I'm like, I can't. I'm working. I need to be there.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't be too happy about it. So I sort of burnt a lot of bridges in that way. And then it got to the point where I was just like, I think they got rid of me. They dropped me, and yeah, it was just that was the sort of, it was tough really, and but all the while I was wanting to make stuff as well, and write, and make my own stuff and direct, but I never had the confidence to do it.
Yeah. And I'm in the same boat myself right now, still working one of those jobs. And I'm
Mm.
curious, because like obviously on Band of Brothers, you and Stephen Graham, so many amazing actors. Like I'm sure you built a camaraderie of friendships with people, and you saw the ebb and the rise of some of these people while you're doing this thing. And I don't, speaking for myself, it can be so weird when I'm bartending and I see my friend on a billboard
Yeah.
and, I'm going up for like a co-star audition. I'm just like, oh, fuck,
Yeah.
man, and so when did you start kind of manifesting it into writing and kind of creating things or the ideas of things, not even necessarily a finished project?
I mean, I'd had ideas for years about stuff, and as I was going along working in kitchens, I'd always thought, wow, this world is absolutely ripe for to make something, film, TV, whatever. And it's never really, personally, in my opinion, been done like truthfully.
Yeah.
So I had lots of ideas, and then after my mum passed, I literally was like, do you know what? Fuck this. What is the worst that can happen? I'm just going to go and make a short film. I'm going to go and make a short film and see what happens. And like, if I'm shit and I can't do it, then at least I've tried.
So just for the viewers listening, not that I want like exact dates, but basically all of the, kind of auditioning slowing down in the kitchen started in what year?
So I started working in kitchens 50, what are we now, 2022? So yeah, like 15 years ago. The auditions, I mean, I only actually quit acting like last year, really.
Because you were in another, I mean, honestly, the other best miniseries of all time. I'm so jealous of your resume, dude. Fucking Chernobyl. I mean,
Yeah.
we can't
Yeah,
gloss
yeah,
over
yeah.
that,
Of
I
course,
mean,
yeah. Like all of these things were coming in, like, like towards, I mean, the last maybe 2 or 3 years, put it this way, right? When I got sober, the first sort of, month or 2 months or whatever it was, that, the first, like I thought, this is it. I haven't had a drink for whatever for a couple of months. I'm ready. Like, calling my agent, right? What's going on? Where's all the auditions? I'm ready now. I'm sober. I'm done. I'm a different person. And they were like, well, you've kind of, nobody really wants to see you at the minute because you've kind of burnt some bridges and stuff. And I'm like, well, and then again, it was like, what can I do to sort of prepare that, Yeah. And so I just put a lot of work in, and, and I sort of honed in on my craft a bit and thought about myself and did a bit of work on myself, and then, just let it sort of, and then I'm quite spiritual now, I believe, like I said, I believe in energy and all that kind of stuff, and trying to put my attention on myself as opposed to thinking about what everyone else is doing. Like this, so that he or she is getting
compare and
these jobs.
despair.
Yeah, completely,
Yeah.
Try, and it's a difficult thing to do, you know what I mean? But when you do focus on yourself, I think things, and you put out positive energy, it definitely works. It comes back to you, it really does. And so, yeah, I sort of thought, I'm going to give directing a go, but I was still acting, I still had my agent, and I still have got my agent, and she's actually now my business partner for a production company we just set up. So, and it was, so yeah, I mean, it's, I think this chefing thing taught me a lot about life, and looking back, it wasn't just about getting sober and stuff like that. But the amount of things that I went through when I was in that world and seen and witnessed has shaped me as a person, I think. And that's what I wanted to get in the movie. And going forward, I think that's what I want to achieve, is these real people, real, like, sort of three-dimensional, flawed human beings, because everybody has their flaws.
Yeah. And so your first creative endeavor, though, you did a short before Boiling Point. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So it was a movie that a friend of mine had written, Robbie O'Neill, and we were doing a TV thing together, acting together, and he said to me, "I've got this script. What do you think? Have a read." And I read it. It was like 10 pages long. It's about a young boxer who's attempted suicide and failed, and then he goes to see a therapist, and it's like the journey of his sort of recovery in a way. But it's really short, like 10 pages. It was about 15 minutes or 20-minute long, short in the end. And I read it, and this is just after my mum had passed away, and I was like, I was thinking about stuff, and it just was, he brought me this script, not for me to direct it. He was just like, "What do you think of the writing? What do you think of the script?" And I was like, "I want to direct this." And he was like, "What? But you've never directed anything?" I was like, "No, I haven't, but I am actually, I want to." And that's what I want to try and do now. And I feel like this script literally landed on my lap at the right moment. Again, I believe it was my mom.
Divine intervention, man.
Yeah.
Mom came through.
Yeah. And so, so I did this short, and I actually said to him, "I'd love to direct this." And he was like, well, he'd actually had a director on board already and a production company, and they were like, going to make it together. And I said, well, I'd love to be a part of it in some way, whatever that may be. He was like, yeah, well, maybe we can, do it together, produce it together, or whatever. Maybe there's a little role in it for me. But I just love the story, and then he like, whatever happened with it didn't work out with the other director and the other production company. And he was like frustrated that it wasn't getting made, because they said they were going to be able to make it in the next 4 or 5 months, and then it got pushed, and blah blah blah, as these things do, but he was frustrated. And I just said to him, and I think they changed the script to a point where he wasn't happy with it, and it was longer, and it was too
creative bullshit.
Yeah. And the script that he sent me and I read was beautiful. So I just said, well, my offer still stands. I want to make the movie that you sent to me, that script. I'd love to make that film. And I know I can get it done. I had no idea if I could get it done. I was just like on this sort of this newfound sort of, on a mission really to sort of go. And then when he said, let's do it then. And that's when I had to put on the work and go like, yeah, you know what, if you do put the work in and the effort in, you can get stuff done. Yeah. And we made it, and it was great. And, it was a great fun, and it solidified for me. This is, oh my God, this is what I want to do. Yeah. I'm literally,
that was a short, right?
That was a short. Yeah. Oh, that's okay. It's on YouTube. You can find it on YouTube. That one, I think it's called Seconds Out.
Seconds Out. Okay, great.
Yeah.
And did that teach you a lot about, because like a lot of people don't know that there's such a beautiful, short film festival circuit, and it's a great way to kind of like build into exactly what you did, a feature. So
yeah.
You said, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, fine.
You said you had been having ideas and things like this. So, obviously you and Steven are great mates, right? From Band of Brothers. And so had you have been kind of like doing a journal, or like, did you have a outline, or so to speak, of what you wanted to do creatively to express everything that you've experienced in hospitality?
Yeah. Basically, when I got the script for Seconds Out, when we were talking about cast ideas, I said to Stephen, I'd love you to play the boxing trainer. There's a small role. And he was like, and I thought he was going to be like, yeah, man, of course. Yeah. I'll be in your film. But he was like, let's get the first one out the way and see how you get on, and then maybe we can talk after that.
I've been dealing with the same thing myself now.
Yeah,
I'll
honestly.
read your script.
Yeah. You know, so then I was like, fair enough, I understand, I get it. You're
Yeah.
Stephen Graham. You don't want to just put yourself in everything.
You lucky fuck. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So, you know, so then I always had the idea to, I thought, you know, the hospitality world is absolutely ripe for drama and entertainment. And I thought, you know, I'd love to set something in that world. And then after I'd done the seconds out and I loved it and I solidified for me, this is what I want to do. And I thought, you know, I need to sort of try and get myself an agent. So maybe I'm going to do this.
Directing agent or
directing agent. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So then I thought, you know, let me do this. Let me come up with the idea. And I literally wrote the idea down on my notes in my phone for the short film.
Like the log line, or so to speak.
Yeah, no, not even that. The log line, but also like I sort of mapped it out because I'd spoken to my cinematographer who I did the first short film with.
Yeah.
I said, oh, this is the idea I've got. You know, what do you think? I want it to be quite real and raw and sort of erratic in a way, and, you know, overlapping dialogue and stuff like that. And he was like, well, why don't we just do it all in one? I was like, oh man, yeah, okay.
Wow.
So then I basically wrote the script in my notes on my phone, and then I sent it to my writing partner James Cummings, who I'd met on a short film that I was in, and he then turned it into a script format and all that kind of stuff. And then I just called Stephen up and I showed him seconds out, sent it to him. I said, this is the film, what do you think? And he's like, oh man, it's amazing. You know, what are you, you know, you must be wanting to do more of this. I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do now. It's kind of set it in stone for me, really. He's like, cool. Well, what are you thinking next? I said, well, I've got this idea for this. And in the back of my mind, I'm going, okay, I want Stephen to play the chef, but I'm not going to ask him again because he's going to turn me down.
Right. Yeah.
I have to try and, you know, just feel him out a bit, you know. So I was like, yeah, I got this idea for this another short film loosely based on my experiences in the kitchen and working as a chef and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, this and that. And I want to do it all in one take. And he was like, oh my God, man. Wow. That sounds incredible. I was like, yeah. He said, so you're going to play that role, surely, you know, you're playing yourself, basically. I was like, well, no, I don't want to be in it and direct it. You know,
so that was never even, I'm glad you brought that up. That was never even a thought to you.
No, man. I never got into directing because I wanted to give myself parts, you know.
Yeah.
I know some people do it. Yeah, man. Well, listen, you know, that's just me. I just didn't want to. I think.
Well, you have credentials. I don't yet.
No, not even that. I think personally, I don't think I've got the brain capacity to do both.
Yeah,
at the same time.
Yeah,
but you know, I said to him, I've got this idea, blah blah blah. You know, we're looking to do it fairly soon, and he was like, right, okay, and so who are you going to get to play it? I was like, I don't know, man. Someone who's got to, you know, really embody that sort of, you know, that character and what the journey is and blah, blah, blah. He's like, yeah. And I was like, yeah. So, and he said, when are you looking to do it? I said, well, whenever we get that person, you know, whenever we get that
when Cillian Murphy calls.
Yeah. And he was just like, Steve just went, well, I'm free in December if you'll have me. And it was exact words. I was like, what? If you have me? I was like, oh my God, man. And so yeah, we just scrambled to get the script right. And then we were on set in December.
But before this wraps, you mind at the end sending me the short because I can't find it anywhere.
Absolutely. I'm
dying to see it, man. And
yeah,
and so,
course, yeah.
You know, obviously most of the viewers here have seen the film. So if you don't mind talking, like, what did you showcase in the short? You know, was there moments from the feature or is it totally different?
No, it's not totally different. But the one thing in the short is it's 20 minutes long, and the sort of two rules. The one rule that we had in the short was that the camera never leaves Stephen. It's always on Stephen.
Yeah.
So it's following this one man's journey. But with the feature, as much as we'd love to go on a one man's journey for an hour and a half, it would have been a big missed opportunity not to sort of dive into other pockets of people's lives really,
Yeah.
and dip our toes in elsewhere,
Oh, and there's so much going on in a
yeah,
kitchen, front of house, back of house. It's just like ripe with so many
yeah,
experiences happening in one evening. It's
yeah,
insane.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so for the first one, it was more just him.
Yes. So it was him, but obviously there was a cast around him, and we had a fantastic ensemble cast. But it was his struggle and his journey, and with the short, sorry, it's because it's 20 minutes. We go in really high energy, like it starts really high, and it doesn't really stop. It stays at that pace until the very end, and it's a similar ending to the short as the feature, same ending. But with the feature, it was like, right, we need to have ebbs and flows. We need to sort of gradually build to that, crescendo or whatever you want to call it. So
Yeah.
it was important to sort of find that that level really. But yeah, so that's the and it's a different location that we shot it in, the short.
So
But
when you
yeah,
did the short, did you already know that this was going to be proof of concept for a feature?
I'd hoped it would be, yeah. So we'd already talked about a feature and how would we expand on the short. And there was a lot of ideas flying about between myself and James Cummings, my co-writer, about, maybe having the short as the opening 20 minutes of the feature. And then after the feature, then we go into his recovery and we follow that journey. But it just wasn't exciting me, like in terms of, what the way we everybody got excited about the short,
Yeah.
the one take thing and all that stuff. So when I was literally shooting my first feature film, Villain, and I'm on set. Sorry, not on set. I was in London filming it, but
The
I
action
was in bed.
adventure film, correct? Or,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's and I literally sat up in bed one night and was like, with the feature, if we could shoot it in this particular location, which was a restaurant that is owned by one of my best friends, which I'd worked at,
Yeah.
then we could shoot the whole thing in one take. And I know the space, so I sort of sat up and just like, I just literally mapped it out in my head what we could do and how we could do it and stuff. And then I called James the next morning. I was like, I think we're going to do it in one take, mate. He's like, what? And then he's like, and then I called Matt Lewis, the cinematographer, and then Stephen, and everyone seemed to have the same enthusiasm and energy that I had when I woke up in bed, and was like, so it was like a sort of no brainer really for me to do it
That
in that way.
that's so beautiful, man. And obviously, Stephen Graham's one of the best in the world, but casting wise, man, that film is filled, like everyone is perfect. No other actor or actress could have fulfilled it, and what's her name? Vinette, the actress
Vinette
who,
Robinson, yeah.
I mean, oh my God, what a coup
Yeah,
of a performance, man. She was so beautiful in
yeah.
that. And I'm so curious, like obviously having to do this, you know, impossible task of getting all of these sequence events to be able to align with the camera. Did you workshop this for a while? Like, how did you do it? Because, brother, I never say this, but it's one of the best pieces of art. I mean, it restored my faith in the medium.
Oh wow, thanks, man.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it was. I, I'm dying to work with you one day, man. I mean, dude, you got such a
Definitely.
future ahead of you, man, and I'm just like I'm just such a curious student, Like, tell me,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
how
Well,
did you get it so perfect?
well, for me, I think it helps me being an actor and having that background and and also understanding actors. Like a lot of directors, they don't really understand actors. A lot of directors are more technical, and so they don't know how to approach actors. And for me, that was the most important thing, is to understanding actors and their approach. And so it was a meticulous process, really, in terms of, we wrote the script with really extensive stage direction, so everything in the movie is in the script solidly. However,
The
the
dialogue
dialogue,
as well. Oh,
no,
okay,
the
good.
dialogue was initially we put it in as like bullet points. So for example, we talk about the environmental health officer, and we have it saying like he's now talking about the fridge temperatures, and then he moves over here and talks about this, and then he mentions this. So it was all there. The information was all there for the actors, and then we workshopped it with them on set, and that's where we developed the actual dialogue. But loosely, I didn't want them to be to have to memorize exactly what they'd said previously, just as long as they are. And again, it's going back to Meisner, which has been, detrimental to detrimental. It's been the biggest thing for me. I thought it was going to be fantastic for my acting career, but it's actually been incredible for my directing as well, because that's how I direct actors now. It's just to say, look, just listening to each other is the most important thing, and be completely open and put your focus on the other person, and don't think about what you're going to do next. And it's as simple as that. I mean, it's not, it's not simple. It's quite difficult, but that was what what I did going into this. I sort of just said to each actor, first of all, I wanted to make sure that we got the right actors. So the audition process was kind of different to what you would do for a conventional film. I said to my casting director, I want you to get a bunch of self-tapes from everybody, and all I want them to do initially is to tell me a story about the first, the best and the worst experience they've ever had in a restaurant, whether it be, working in it or whether eating in it, doesn't matter. Tell me the story whilst making a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or something like that. And you'll be surprised how many actors would perform this elaborate story. And they would do it whilst stirring an empty cup with no liquid in it, no tea.
And that's Strasbourg, not Meisner.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I just sort of, once we narrowed it down to the people who were really telling me the story off the cuff, it was, then we brought them in for recalls and callbacks, and then it was a case of basically they knew which role they were coming in for and the background of the character. But I would say, okay, come in, and let's say, for example, one of the kitchen staff, I would say, you're going to come in, you're late for work, and you're just sneaking in, sort of thing, and you've got a bit of prep to do.
Yeah.
And I gave them some props, like some bowls and some whisking stuff and stuff on a table, so they could do whatever they want. And they come in, but I didn't tell them that I had an actor friend of mine, actually Robbie O'Neill, who wrote Seconds Out and played the lead in Seconds Out. He was there playing lots of different roles, and I would basically say to him, when they come in, I want you to go over and just scream at them and basically tear them a new one.
Yeah.
And they weren't expecting that, the actors. And again, you'd be surprised how many actors would go, oh, sorry, I was not expecting that. Can we just go again, please? Can we just do that again? Sorry, I wasn't expecting that. And I was like, of course we can go again, but now you are expecting it. And so I just wanted to, not that we would, I was throwing any of the actors into the deep end during the filming. Everybody was aware of what was going on, but I wanted to make sure that if anything was to change during that take, that they were open to it and ready to go, rather than going, oh, sorry, can we cut? Sorry, I wasn't expecting that to that cup to fall off the shelf, or what, you know what I mean? So I needed actors who were completely open and vulnerable and ready for anything,
Well, I think it's also such a testament to your writing, man, because like I've never seen a film, because usually in a film there's, protagonist, antagonist, supporting, but like with this film, every cast member down to dish pit, all the way, to person fixing table 7 with that, asshole white supremacist guy, like everything that was happening in their, I don't want to say their life, but in that life, in that moment, and what they were going through and how they were trying to deal with it. And I've never gotten such like a fundamental understanding of so many characters and something that had an hour and a half, like, how did you write for that, man? I mean, it's just, that's so amazing, brother.
I mean, it's all based on people that I know, like, or that I've, come into contact with. And, it was just important to show as much as possible, but without showing it too much. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
without, showing it in a look or whatever is more powerful for me than sort of spelling it out for the audience, And I think to make characters, completely rounded and relatable in a way, because everybody's flawed, and I wanted to and it was important to then, I'd written the characters how I saw them,
Yeah.
but then it was really important for me, and it is important for me going forward on everything that I do, is to then, once we've cast that actor, sit down with them and go, right, where are we at, like, together? Let's develop this together, because I can go so far as a writer, director, but ultimately you are the vessel. You are the person who's going to be on screen, showing the world this character. So it needs to come from the heart, from them as well. It has to have an element of them in it. And so it's really important for me to spend time with actors and developing it together. Even if it's just like small things, the way they walk, the way they hold themselves, things
Yeah.
like that has to be, has to come from the actor.
Totally.
Um,
And
yeah.
when you had the time finally to shoot this, were you just terrified because like there's just so many things that have to go right in order for it to work, it must have been, I mean, I can't even imagine the stress you must have been under.
Yeah, it was like nothing I've ever experienced in my life. You know,
Because
it's
there's not
stressful.
a join for the
No, no, no,
audience.
no,
It's
no, no.
all literally one, not
Yeah,
1917. It's like
no, no.
one. Wow. Wow.
Yeah, the camera doesn't cut from the moment I call action until the end. Yeah, and to do that, um, and get it right is stressful. You've got to, there's so many layers that you have to sort of gradually build, from the just mapping out the move of the camera to then you bring the actors in. That's another layer. Then you've got to show them where they need to be and how they need to move. And it's all 360 degrees. So there's no like moments where the actors can really, I mean, there's moments that they can just relax, but I kind of didn't want them to do that. I wanted them to be in this service for an hour and a half
Yeah.
and not stop, and be in character as much as they possibly could. And so, yeah, it was stressful because, for me as a director on this particular piece, it's like, in a conventional film, you come in a day, you have maybe 2 or 3 scenes to do, and you have various different angles, camera angles, and you can stop and go, that's not quite working. Let's try this maybe, or try this on this take, or, and you get a bit of time to do that. And it's kind of, it's relaxing. I guess it's nice. But with this, all of my work is done in the rehearsals and the
Wow.
workshops, because as soon as I call action on a take, I was sat in front of a monitor watching it play out in real time. So
Yeah.
it's petrifying. And there's some we've actually just put together a 35-minute documentary about how we made it and stuff.
Oh, dude, I cannot wait to see that. That's
Yeah.
amazing, man. How many takes did you end up doing?
So we did 4 takes in total. We were meant to do 8 takes over 4 nights. So we were going to do it twice per night. And, we were going to have 8 movies to choose from in our minds. But then this was in March 2020, which is, when COVID was first hit us.
Yeah.
And so we got cut short by 2 days because the producers were like, after the first night, we'd done 2 takes. They weren't right. Because in my mind, I'm going, we've got 6 more goes at this. We're going to get it. We're going to get the take. We got through the 2 takes without stopping. But in my mind, they were just like dress rehearsals. They were like a warm up.
Yeah, totally.
But then the producers called me that same night, and we're like, tomorrow's going to have to be our last day because COVID is now becoming a very, very serious. The country's about to go into lockdown. We had a few crew members who pulled out because of they were living with elderly parents, or
Oh,
one of them was quite early on pregnant. So she had to sort of, she stepped away because she was scared,
yeah.
So we came in the next day and we're like, right, we've got 2 more goes at this. And everyone was like, I mean, I didn't tell everybody, I told a few people, and everybody just stepped the game up. It
Yeah.
was magical.
Oh
Magical.
man, so beautiful, and it's oh man, it just inspired me and touched me in ways that I really needed. So thank you for that, man. I mean,
My pleasure,
it
man. And honestly, I really
it really is
appreciate it.
divine, and I know your mom is so proud of you, and I hope you did get the agent,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, final few questions, man. Can you talk about
Yeah.
what's in store for you, what you want to do and achieve?
Yeah, man. I've got a bunch of things. I set up a production company, like during the lockdown, basically the first lockdown in March, straight away, because we were, I was in post with the film, but the post was quick because the film was ready when
What?
we
Yeah, color
wrapped.
corrected and sound and
That was
yeah,
it. That was all we had
yeah.
to do. So we did that, and then we set up this company, and we sort of had a bunch of scripts that we were looking at, and then James Cummings had written this really cool script, which now I'm about to shoot in a few weeks. We'll start prepping 2 weeks, so
That's so
that's
amazing,
amazing.
man. And
Yeah,
and you still feel like, that mantle is hung up on acting, or are you still open to it?
it's so funny because I was open to it. I did a bunch of things. I mean, look, as soon as I said, "Oh, I'm gonna think probably gonna quit acting and just focus on directing," of
Everything comes in.
course, of course, I had a few roles come in. So I did those, and they were just through friends of mine who sort of offered me the small roles in certain things. And then I got the opportunity to. I had a meeting last August with a producer over here, a TV producer, who was doing a TV show, and it's all set in my hometown in Liverpool. And she was like, "Look, we'd love for you to direct an episode, but we're not sure whether the BBC are going to go for it because you're a fairly new director. You've never done TV before, and they're a bit
Right.
nervous." I was like, "Fair enough, yeah, fair enough. I totally get it." And so I loved the scripts, and because it was all set in Liverpool, I sort of said, "Look, I'd love to be a part of it somehow." And she was like, "Well, are you still acting?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I am, I guess. Yeah, I mean, and she was like, "Well, there's a small role in it if you," and I auditioned for it actually, and I got the part. And so
Congrats.
there, I was like, "Great, I'm gonna be in it. It's fantastic." And then just before we were starting, we were starting, we were about to have a read through on Zoom, and she called me and she's like, "I just got some news for you." I was like, "What is it?" She's like, "The BBC would love you to direct the last episode of the series." I was like, "Holy shit, what? What do you mean?" I
That's
said, "Does that mean I'm
amazing.
going to have to not be in it?" And she was like, "Well, no. How do you feel about directing yourself?" I was like, "Oh shit,
It's
I
finally
hadn't
happening.
thought about it." It's like, it was, so it's sort of come like the I never got into directing to direct myself, but this way around, and I have to say it wasn't easy. Like, it wasn't, and that's why I think I know that I probably wouldn't direct myself again, because I found it really difficult
Yeah,
to sort of put on those two hats.
totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, there's a bunch of stuff happening this year. I've got that thing, and then there's a couple of stuff, and then I signed with a big agency in Los Angeles last year.
CAA.
Yeah,
Yeah.
off the
Congrats,
back
man.
of the feature. And they've been, I've been meeting with a bunch of amazing people, and I signed up to a couple of movies over there, so
I'm so excited
it's
for you,
great.
man. And dude, when
Thanks,
the
man.
next one comes, I'd love to audition for you one
Oh
day,
man, yeah,
man.
of course,
It would mean the
definitely.
world. I'll be line cook number 4. I'm not above it. Yeah. But man, final question for you, because
Yeah,
we live in a time right now where it's so hard because comic book movies and
yeah,
intellectual property and reboots, are the norm, and it's so hard to make art in anything that's just like, doesn't have Spider-Man in it. And I
Yeah.
love that you did this film and you got it made. And it gives me so much hope that it's receiving such acclaim because it deserves it, for all the artists, actors, directors, writers struggling out there. And I apologize. I know this is a loaded question, but any words of wisdom you might have for them?
I mean, for me, I just think just keep going, because I think, yeah, you are your own, just sort of, stay in your lane and just keep focused on yourself. And know that for me personally, I was so determined to to make something and make it happen. I wanted to direct, and like I said earlier, I always put directors in this sort of category of being a unique type of person who could only, special people who can do it. But anybody can do absolutely anything
Yeah.
they want
Yeah.
if they put their mind to it. And don't be put off by anything. Just go for it. And I always say to people, jump off the cliff and just flap and see what happens. Flap your wings. I'm still flapping now.
Yeah. Beautiful,
You know what I
man.
mean?
Yeah.
But just keep flapping, because you will fly. Like, you will fly. It's you just got to put the work in and put the time in, because especially I see it happened to me, and is a prime example of, like, I wasn't putting the work in. I wasn't sharpening my tools as an actor. I didn't put any effort into it, and my whole career just sort of went down the toilet, really.
Yeah.
So I feel like, there's actors reach out to me quite a lot now, and I'll always look at I'll always read CVs. I'll always look at show reels and stuff like that, because for me, I wish that there was someone that I could reach out to
Yeah.
when I was, an actor. And don't be afraid to approach people. Nobody's unapproachable.
Yeah.
Write the letters to the casting directors and to the agents and whatever directors as well. Don't be afraid of that, because you get one shot in this
Yeah.
life. You get one life, and you've just got to live it to the fullest.
Well, dude,
You know.
I'd write you a letter, but I think I just gave you one. So,
Well, yeah,
dude.
I know. Yeah.
But man, dude, honestly, man, I know there's so much bullshit involved with all these awards, but brother, if I had the power,
Yeah.
I would give you every single one of them. And what you did is
Thank you, man.
so beautiful. And I hope you really are taking a moment to acknowledge what you've done and how powerful it is and how much it means. And
Thank you, man.
I know nothing but amazing things are going to be in store for you. And I'm really just so happy for you, man. You're an artist, and
Thank
keep
you,
going,
man.
brother. And I love you, man. And if it's cool, we'll finish this up. I'd love to see the original short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll send
Yeah.
it. I'll send it over to you, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Philip Barantini, thank you for coming on, man. It means the
Thank you,
world.
man.
And come back when the next one's out.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'd
All
love
right.
to. Love
All
to.
right, man. Much love.
Thanks, man.